Okay, we're good.
So
Okay.
before we start, Mrs. Grabstein will read the Open Public Record Act. Mrs. Grabstein?
Sure. The Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bergen Record, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. Public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually or telephonically via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The Assistant Business Administrator will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order in which their hand was raised. Can we have a motion to open? Do I have a second? They're not it.
I love the proactiveness of our board.
You need to call
We're
a
good?
vote, George, or?
I'm gonna.
Yeah, we
we're gonna-
do. We need a
I'm
board
just
vote.
trying to get it. Carrie and Wayne in. Okay, I'm going to take a roll call. Mr. Cathcart?
Yes.
Mrs. Orth? Here. Mr. Phytros?
They all need to be promoted.
They need to be, yeah, we need to. Mr. Phytros?
Here.
On, okay.
Miss-
Okay, I'm taking a roll call. Mr. Phytros?
Here.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Mr. Gomes?
Here.
Mrs. McNeil?
Here.
Dr. Martinez?
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez? Here. Mr. Verselli?
Here, finally,
And
just made it.
President Fernandez.
Here.
We're over to Mrs. Thiemann and Mrs. Romba, please.
Evening, everyone. Extremely proud to be here as representative from the middle school. We have 2 students that we're honoring this evening that Mr. Carlson and Miss Joan Carlson will be presenting awards on behalf of our students. They participated in the Patriots Pen. But I'd also like to take a moment to thank Mr. Savino, who did an exceptional job making sure he supported all his students in being participants in this contest and really explaining and showing them every day in his classes the true meaning of being a citizen. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Romba, who coordinated the program with Ms. Carlson and Mr. Carlson. And Mr. Carlson, I would like to also recognize, is a distinguished veteran.
Thank you very much, Steve. Being here. Only my second year in charge of this after this Thiemann, but it's been a wonderful experience to work with Ms. Carlson, and I'm just meeting Mr. Carlson today. I'd like to thank Ms. Thiemann and also Mr. Savino because he is so efficient with all his essays that come in. Many of the teachers participate, but his classes are almost every student participates, so I appreciate your participation. It's been nice working with them. We have a few other things in the works that I have to get approved from you, Dr. Haynes, some other things we're going to do. But I'm very proud to say that we had 2 winners, and one is also a county winner. Am I correct, Carlson. So I'd like to introduce Joan Carlson and Bob Carlson, and they will give their awards out. We're here for it.
Good evening. Each year, the VFW National Headquarters sponsors 2 essays contests. They are the voice of democracy for high school students and the Patriots Pen for grammar school students. This year, Ridgefield Park submitted 105 Patriots Pen essay with the theme, "How Can I Be a Good American?" The essays were judged by the VFW Post 277 Auxiliary, with the winners to be submitted to VFW District 2. District 2 covers all of Bergen County, most populous county in the state. Our local winners were Shea Johnson. Please come up. And Dale Quinch. Okay, I'd like to present you with a certificate from Veterans of Foreign War, and also with a gift from VFW Post 277 and the Auxiliary. Congratulations. Now, is your certificate. Also, check. Spend it wisely. They placed second in District 2. He will go on. He will go on to receive a recognized at the VFW district meeting to be held, I believe, next Wednesday in Garfield. Post 277 and its auxiliary are very proud of our winners and all those who participated in the Patriots Pen. A special thanks to Candace Roma, Mike Savino, and Diane Beeman for overseeing this project. Congratulations once again.
We've been doing this for years, but the fact that we had 105 participants, no good. I can't help it, I got well. The second largest in Bergen County, the other one was Hohokus. All the other Bergen County towns had 10, 20, 30. So you need to congratulate your staff because the auxiliary women didn't think we could get it done. And they got it done for us. The other thing is, next week, April, Bergen County Traces program that helps vets in need. We are collecting, or hope to collect, as we have in the past, peanut butter and tuna fish as proteins for the vets in need. We've done this before. We didn't do it last year because of the problem, but we've always been very successful in doing it. Teachers put boxes wherever the kids come in, throw in their peanut butter and tuna fish, and then Bergen County Veterans Tracer Program comes over and picks it up. So I just want to tell you, with your permission. You couldn't say no now, right? Thank you.
I would just like to take just a very brief minute just to address not only the Board of Education, Dr. Haynes and Ms. Thiemann, and our distinguished guests from the VFW. I am so proud of our students this year. Every time I participate in this contest and I read what these students write, and how much of their heart and soul they put into their expression. It gives me hope for the future that we've got some rising stars and some great young men and women coming up, and proud to be a part of that, helping to mold our next generation of young citizens. and I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you tonight. Thank you.
Do we have a copy of those articles they wrote?
Essays.
Yes.
I think I'd like to put them up on the website.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest along
Yes.
with the
I
students.
think that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you again for all the participation. Yes, and we should take a picture. I love this idea, getting the students up there. Thank you. And the entire board, please. So continuing with presentations, although we haven't started the superintendent's report, I would say that I think we're somewhat thrilled, and meeting Aaron Aguilar is also somewhat thrilled that Aaron Aguilar will not be making a presentation tonight. The numbers in the village of Ridgefield Park 2 weeks ago were 0, and this past week were 1. And yes, I think that deserves a huge round of applause. We can talk about other implications after the superintendent report, but Aaron Aguilar will not be with us, thankfully. I will, however, be introducing 2 of our rising stars in the district. They represent our student council. They are Gwaria Bendari and Alexis Baliut. And they, as I said, are representing the student government and have some things to say. And thank you for joining us. We're pleased to have you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gari Bandari, and I'm junior class president, and this is Alexis Baluyat. She's the junior class vice president. We're representing the student government, and we're here to provide the board with an update of the school happenings and activities. We would like to start with a recap of the students' happenings in the last 2 weeks. Here at the high school, this last month, we celebrated Black History Month. The Lives for Change Club and the Fashion Club created a great display of Black fashion icons, influencers, designers, and models right here in the Commons for all to admire and learn. Members of the Lives for Change Club and also worked with elementary teachers to highlight African American authors in a virtual reading event. The first week of March, which was Read Across America Week, students in the elementary schools took breaks from their usual lessons to listen to readings given by various members of the administration. As for upcoming events, we're excited to announce that next week, the student government will be hosting our school-wide student and staff volleyball tournament. Spectators are welcome as we continue to look forward to building our school spirit. Thank you.
Now for athletic accomplishments. Junior Teresa Zeppatelli made Scarlet Buck history when she placed second in the state in her weight class at the 2022 New Jersey Wrestling Championships, held on February 20th, 2022. Already a county champion and a regional finalist, Teresa breezed through the quarterfinals with a pin in 1 minute and 9 seconds and claimed a victory in the semifinal as well. Tomorrow, our baseball team is heading to Florida for spring training. Follow their journey on Instagram. All of our spring sports kicked off last week, and all of us here at the high school are excited about getting outside for many upcoming spring events. Thank you for your time.
Ladies, thank you so much. We're so thrilled again that you're back with us.
No
Really appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you. And so until the superintendent report, I turn the meeting back to you, Mr. President.
Any movements?
Is
Minutes to be moved?
that it for the
There's no minutes
superintendent's
to read,
report?
no minutes
or-
to
No,
read.
no, no, that's,
No,
Okay,
we're a little out of order. We'll come back to the superintendent's report.
No minutes.
Okay, I
Okay.
see, yeah. Thank you.
communications?
Communications will be part of the budget presentation.
Moving on to committee reports, buildings and grounds, Mr. Cathcart. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night, a Zoom meeting at 6:30. Thank you. Faculty and programs, Mrs. Rodriguez.
Hi, thank you, President Fernandez. 1 second. Okay, the Faculty and Programs Committee met on March 10th, 2022 at 7:30. The committee members in attendance, President George Fernandez, Trustee Mr. Gibbons, Trustee Dr. Martinez, and myself. Administrator in attendance, Dr. Barry Haynes. The subject that we discussed is a faculty and program from the perspective of CUSAC, and Dr. Haynes will update us in the near future in his superintendent's report. We also discussed District Goal 1, which is the committee meeting SEL, Social Justice, and ELL, and how we can support our ELL possible programs, bilingual education, bilingual offerings, identification of ELL students, EL screener, and also language scaffolds for ELL and training our teachers in the CEOP. We also discussed how a reading intervention specialist can better support our students in the classroom. This reading intervention specialist ideally would have knowledge in Orton Gillingham, ELL, SIOP, Sundays, and balanced literacy. Thank you, President Fernandez.
Thank you. Sticking with faculty and programs subcommittee for social justice, Dr. Martinez.
Just a brief update. I had a wonderful meeting with Mr. Maggio, who happens to teach a class, teaches 2 classes actually, and has taught them for many, many years here at the high school. And we had a very productive discussion about how he can help us, being a subject matter expert. He can help us with our efforts on the Social Justice Committee and how we might be able to support him expanding the scope of his classes. His classes are very much in demand. They're very popular, and ways that we can help him expand his influence beyond the classroom.
Thank you. Moving on to finance and insurance, Trustee Gomes.
Thank you, President Fernandez. The Finance Committee met on March 8th. In attendance was President Fernandez, Trustee Martinez, Trustee McNeil, State Monitor, Mr. Demikoff, BA, Ms. Gapstein, Acting Superintendent, Dr. Hayes, and our Auditor, Gary Higgins. The Auditor presented our financial reports. We stated that we received a unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that we can possibly have, and he said we should be very proud of this. The only negative thing noted in the financial reports were that we had some uncashed checks, some dating back quite a number of years. And so they made a report to management to have them corrected. So that's something that's being looked at. The auditor should be presenting their financial statements to the board. The auditor expresses feelings that the district has turned the corner. Being an acting superintendent should be able to run the district efficiently. Mr. Demikoff pointed out that a lot of what we're seeing today is a result of the hard work by former BA Mr. Tevis. The Finance Committee also discussed the home ec lab and the science lab, which are coming in over budget. There's quite a bit of discrepancies due to cost overruns and estimations. We will be meeting again to discuss this because we do need to get some updated numbers from the Buildings and Grounds Committee and the architect, which just came in. So we do have another meeting coming up to make some decisions as to which projects we'll do and how we handle this situation. The other thing I want to point out today is that our budget is a little bit behind. The reason for that is because the state budget numbers are a bit late. So the governor didn't do his report until much later than normal, and we really needed his numbers to put into our budget. So it is in the works. We should see on the agenda that there will be a additional meeting this month for us to accept the budget. The final thing that we went back and forth about was the whole situation with our insurance broker. The BA was not happy with some of the responses from the insurance broker, and especially when we discovered we had quite a high deductible for our cyber liability. And so she will be making a recommendation. And that's all. Thank you.
Yes.
At this time, we'd like to promote our auditors from. Oh, right. Okay. That's right.
Buildings and Grounds,
Got it,
we
got
have a meeting tomorrow night. Yeah, personal.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Alex. How are you?
Good. How you doing, President? Okay, Alex Baritz, Lurch, Vinci, and Higgins. We completed the June 30th, 2021 audit. The district received an unmodified opinion, as you heard earlier, which is the highest level that could be attained. There was no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted. Usually we go over your general fund, which is your operating fund balance. The fund balance did increase $2,569,480 at year end to $10,748,269. But there are some restrictions to that approximately $10.7 million number. The first being your capital reserve. We have approximately $4,300,995 in your capital reserve, which is restricted for capital projects only. However, 2.8 of that is currently in your 21-22 budget. So the availability of capital reserve at this moment is $1,468,710. You also have $1,494,922 in your maintenance reserve, which is restricted for your required maintenance expenditures. We also have $1,167,715 of that 1.4 maintenance reserve in your 21-22 budget. So that's not available. The availability of your maintenance reserve at this time is $327,207. We have year-end encumbrances of $4,086,055. These are your purchase orders that were committed at year-end, where the goods and services were not received, which roll over into your current 21-22 school year. And we are left with your unassigned 1.5 state max of $863,245, which is available for any purposes. As far as your recommendations, you had one recommendation which pertained to old outstanding checks and certain bank reconciliations that should be reviewed and cleared. We had one recommendation prior year that was cleared in the current year. And just to show the progress of the district, I look back at the 2016 audit where we had 19 recommendations. So I just want to congratulate the district with all their hard work. I want to thank Mrs. Grabstein and Dr. Haynes for providing us all the information requested and for making the audit a smooth one.
Alex, you can report for us anytime. Thank you.
Alex?
Yes.
Mark Holmes, I have a quick request of you.
Sure.
Maybe like take 2 minutes or so, or whatever time you need. Can you explain just a brief explanation of the 1.5 calculation of the surplus for us, just for the whole board to understand how that works?
Sure. So usually it's the state increased the state max from 2% to 4% for districts, but since the district has a state monitor, your max is 1.5%. Okay, the 1.5% is based on your total expenditures in general funds. So your total expenditures for general fund were $41,272,259. So 1.5% of your expenditures gives us $619,084. The state does allow you to increase that 1.5% for any excess revenues of extraordinary aid or non-public transportation aid. So the district did have unbudgeted extraordinary aid of $244,161. So if you take your 1.5% state max plus your $244,161 of your allowable adjustments for the extraordinary aid, that is your maximum $863,245. That's how the state calculates the excess surplus calculation.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Alex, for your presentation. And thank you for you and your firm for all your hard work. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Grapstein, Dr. Haynes, and the entire business office for all their hard work going on during this audit process. Make this as smooth as possible for the accounting firm. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I might interject here before Alex leaves.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, the June 30th, 2021 audit that was presented here tonight represents the continuation of many years of hard work to bring this district from being in a deficit to a district with financial stability. We have come a long way from the June 30th, 2016 audit, when there were 19 audit recommendations, to the current audit that finds only one. The district has been fortunate to have worked closely with a fine audit firm in Lurch Vinci Higgins and their professional staff. I want to formally thank Gary Higgins, partner in that firm, and Alex Baris, the head auditor, who did the audit, as we reached out many times to both of them during the year to resolve issues together and ensure that good accounting practices were followed. Along with our auditors, this was a team effort, and there are many who share in these accomplishments. Our former business administrator, Jim Tevis, and his business office staff, Superintendent Angela Bender and her administrators and supervisors all contributed and played a major role in what was accomplished and is so documented in the June 30th, 2021 audit. My personal thanks to all of them for a good job, a job well done. Thank you, Alex, and please pass that on to Gary as well.
I will. Thank you.
Keeping with our committee reports, policy, Dr. Martinez.
Yes, good evening. The policy committee met on March 10th. Present were Dr. Haynes, Diane McNeil, myself, BA Carrie Grafstein, and George Fernandez. We had 5 major areas that we spoke about. It was a very productive meeting. One thing we spent a little time on is the idea of implementing an exit survey process where we interview individuals who leave our district due to retirement or placement somewhere else. The thought was that these individuals take with them a lot of information, good information about our district that can help us improve, and that we should really tap that before they leave. And also doing, I'm blocking on the word, but something like a stay interview where we interview staff anonymously and get feedback from them about where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are and how we can improve. Again, staff has invaluable information that they typically keep in their pockets. The other thing we talked about was making sure that we align our use of facilities agreements to match our policy and to make sure that these agreements are fair, they protect the district, and that they continue to address the needs of our community at large. Another area that we spoke about was clarifying voting privileges between the Ridgefield Park and the Little Ferry District. We also talked about, as you saw today, making sure that we bring back student representation, not just student government, but also that there are students and children present at all our meetings. I think it's, we all agreed that it's good practice. It reminds us here on the board why we're here and what's important. And so you will be seeing more and more students here presenting on the wonderful things that are going on in the school system. And the last thing was a suggestion by Trustee Orth, which was to explore allowing New Jersey school boards to do a wellness check. So New Jersey School Boards is a consulting, it's not a governmental office. It's a consulting firm that advises school boards on how to do best practices. And they provide a free wellness check on policy. So we're going to explore having our policies looked at and freshened up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to personnel. Trustee Gibbons.
Yes, and we've had a standard practice now for a few months now, having a monthly meeting. We have 3 board meetings in this month. So we do intend to meet soon. We did discuss with the policy meeting. There was nothing urgent to discuss 2 weeks ago. So in the next meeting or before April 6th, we will hold a formal policy meeting.
Thank you very much.
Personnel.
Wait.
Still Dr. Martinez.
Moving on to negotiations, Trustee Verselli, please.
Yeah, so unfortunately, RPSA has rejected our offer, but we are looking to secure a date to get right back to trying to get something put together and something that benefits both sides. So we're waiting on to get that date. We had a date and then it kind of fell through. So and that's it.
Thank you very much. I'd like to close committee reports and moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. So there are so many positive things to share this month, and yet I promise Ms. Grabstein and the rest of the public that we'll move into budget very quickly because that is the goal of the meeting. I need to spend a couple of seconds on the student representatives, Gauri Bhandari and Alexis Balu, and what they were talking about is the monthly newsletter that all the community members, our parents and students should have received in your email as far as the March newsletter for the board. It's just chock full of lots of good stuff. I asked the high school aviation class, which is the new class that we started last year, for an assignment to go ahead and talk about some of the great things they did. And at some future meeting, I will be showing you a video of the high school students in that class talking about all the great things that they've learned this year in aviation. It's very inspiring. I am going to take maybe 30 seconds and play what I consider to be an inspiring video. So this was created by some of our elementary students. And if you know, our juniors have been testing this week and have been, the high school has been having delayed openings because of that. And we thought it would be a good practice or idea, as we found in some other districts, to have our elementary students cheer on our juniors. So again, I'm not going to play a lot of this, but to me, this represents the best of a learning community. And I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I do.
Hi there, class of 2020.
Sorry.
We are the class of 2029, and we wish you luck on taking the NJGPA test. Just remember, you're smart, you're capable, and you got this.
So you get the idea. That goes on for about another minute. There, you myself. And again, represents to me some of the best things we can do in our learning community. Please remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, because there's a lot of, we follow things like the baseball team that's now going to the summer camp. They leave tomorrow morning, or the spring camp, they leave tomorrow morning. And we're hoping to have a live Zoom from our students who go down to Florida back to these classrooms, and also to the 8th graders, actually 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in Little Ferry, because that's some more inspirational news that doesn't seem to get out. Like I said, we do all these great things that we're trying to publicize more. So again, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. With that, I'm going to open this up or move on to the budget presentation.
Dr. Hins?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for the district newsletter. It's really great to see things going on in the entire district. I always remember when my son was in Roosevelt School, I enjoyed receiving their newsletter. And when I became a board member, I saw the newsletters from all the other elementary schools, and it's great to see all these things that the other schools were doing. But as a general person in the public, you never see those things. And now with this district newsletter, you see a lot of good things happening.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes.
Just briefly, I wanted to congratulate the wrestlers for a successful
Yes.
season. We have several accolades that some of the wrestlers have received. First team All League, Derek Bauernschmidt. First team All League, Adam Albino. And first team All League, Matthew Carbajal. Second team All League, Derek Rodriguez. Second team All League, Gabriel Nunez. Honorable mention, Andrew Vargas. And Preston Brady, region and district champion. I'd also like to congratulate Teresa Zapatelli as well for an extremely successful season, and Adam Albino, who both went to the States and Atlantic City to compete.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you.
Mrs. Grabstein, you okay with the budget? So
Yes, absolutely.
I'll go ahead and start the budget presentation. Yeah. Okay. So the goal of this meeting is to really share with our learning community some of the goals of the budget. As I'm fond of Judy Wilson, who worked with our board member this summer, saying, a budget tells a story about your district. It tells what your district is interested in, what your goals and your aspirations for your learning community. And through those goals and visionary ideals, the money follows to create the programs that you believe are important for the children and students of Ridgefield Park. So as a reminder to start this, the Ridgefield Park Public Schools mission, I won't be reading this because you'll see there are a lot of other things we need to get to. Posted on our website. And a quick reminder of the district goals that this governing body created back this summer and that we're following through on, including basically social and emotional learning, but all students known, included, cared for, and evolving in their self-awareness, identity, and agency. And I'll again say, these are the goals that drive the funding and the budget in your district. Goal 2, early childhood learning, brain development and readiness for success. And this is from birth to age 5, including, as best we can, universal pre-K and pre-K as Bogota has for age 3 and 4-year-olds. And goal 3, college and career readiness, and looking at some of those programs like the aviation program and other programs that we've implemented to build out the capacity and career opportunities for our students. I'm going to turn the floor over for a couple of slides to Mrs. Grabstein to build the context of the money in the district and how we're building the budget.
Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about the tax levy for the 22-23 school year. In July of 2020, the state implemented what they call Chapter 44, which is a new health insurance plan. And there's a different configuration for employees' contributions and district contributions. And we were required to upload all of this data and all of the plan information to the state for them to determine whether or not we were going to get an adjustment in our, can you hear me? Yes, an adjustment in our 21-22 tax base. And unfortunately, we did. We got a reduction in our tax base of $838,000. So what happens then is that after that reduction, it brings the tax base down from 27,409,601 to 26,570,644. That's an $838,000 decrease. And then we get a 2% increase on top of that for the 22-23 school year, bringing the tax levy for 22-23 to $27,102,057. So to sum all of this up, what it means is that the tax levy, as it stands now, will be $307,544 less than it was for 21-22, when typically it should be 2% more. But with that being said, Nancy and I and my payroll accountant, we are appealing this cut, and we're hoping that if we present enough data to show that we didn't actually save money in health insurance, that they will reconsider and give us the full tax levy back to 2%. So that's what this graph is showing. The next page is a slide that talks about state aid. And the good news in state aid is that you can see from the 21-22 school year to the 22-23 school year, we received a $1.86 million increase. And the large part of that increase is due to equalization aid. And the nice thing about equalization aid is that it's not restricted to just working with special needs students. So the increase in equalization, while it doesn't quite offset the disappointment with the tax levy, it really is nice to see that we did get a 20% increase in state aid over the last year. Security aid, special education, transportation, and regular state aid remained flat over this past year.
Thank you, Mrs. Grabstein. One of the questions that inevitably comes from the public, and I know this print is really strong, small rather, and I could click here and take a good amount of time on this. These are numbers of all of the grants that this district has received since 2020 and is receiving now into the future till 2024. They include things like the ESEA grant, Every Child Succeeds Act, or Education and Secondary Act. Those include Title I through Title IV funds, and we receive about $500,000 of those funds each year. Those are broken out because the question that generally comes from the public is, but you receive all this money in grants, can you use some of that? Well, this is a breakdown of even of the $1,600,000 that we received from CRISA or ESSER 2, or the $3,600,000 that we received from ARP ESSER 3. They're very tightly controlled by the state government for things such as learning loss, learning expectations, and of the ARP money, we're spending $2.7 million, actually should be more than that, $2.7 million in HVAC systems, which you'll see in the budget in a couple of minutes, some of the upgrades that the district's going through. Suffice to say, though, of the $6 million, it's tightly controlled. And those of you who have children in the district, and those of you who are aware of the programs that we're putting out, you'll see these expended for things like the Meadowlands, credit recovery, Title I through IV, after school programs, enrichment programs that we're currently running, clubs after school, clubs at the elementary school, social and emotional health and wellness. You'll see it, this money put to use in all of those different programs that we're running. So suffice to say, that's where the ESSER and ESEA grants are going. So this is an overview, kind of a table of contents to the rest of the presentation for this evening. And again, I'm going to go through this pretty expeditiously. And if you have questions, can I ask you to hold them until the end of it? So we're starting with curriculum and instruction, moving to personnel, facilities, technology, furniture, and transportation. Under curriculum, similar to last year, some of the things that we're doing, the board actually has on your agenda tonight to improve increased spending for curriculum writing. That curriculum writing was to meet CUSAC standards, and these are the standards, some of which we had to meet as we went through CUSAC. Mrs. Rodriguez talked earlier about faculty and programs, and I need to stop for a second and say CUSAC did come to visit us. We had a wonderful, engaging conversation with Sharon Rosario and Nora, who are from the county department, and they came in and talked to our supervisors and administrators about our curriculum. And they had lots of really good insights and things to say, so much so that at the end of 4.5 hours, they said, let's schedule another meeting. We'll be back on March 23rd. So I will be bringing some more information back to Faculty and Programs Committee, but suffice to say, we're not done. And I think, personally, I see it as a wonderful opportunity to improve some of the programs and things that we're doing in the district. Last year, our focus was on getting classroom materials into classrooms through Fontes and Pinnell, and we spent around $500,000. This year, we're looking more at our student population and saying, we really need to build that homeschool connection. This is the first initiative, and this will roll out in 2 to 3 weeks. This, for example, on the screen are 2 collections for 5th grade. These will go home with every student in the district K through 6, so that we can help our students build good book nooks or reading libraries or collections at their homes, and then also put out some professional development and some model videos of how parents can really encourage students and support students reading in their homes. Math manipulatives. So one thing that I've heard very clearly from our faculty, from our professionals is thank you for all the Fontes Pinnell and thank you for all the Envisions math. I'm talking K through 6. And they have a lot of initiatives that they're juggling right now. We would like to do a science initiative, but we're going to hold off because our faculty really wants to spend some good quality time in some peer conferencing and some exploration of all the things that they've received so far so they can develop their craft with these programs. So all we're doing currently with math and K through 6 is putting out some more manipulatives to help build those skills, those math skills with our students. In science, as I said, we're not rolling out a new program K through 6, but in 6th, 7th, 8th, we are. We're buying some workbooks for our students so they have some more consumables to use in science. And we're continuing some of the initiatives we've started. Again, the board has on the agenda tonight to sponsor one of our professionals, 6th grade science teacher, in learning more about gizmos and actually becoming nationally recognized in some of the expertise he has in using gizmos. You'll see that on the agenda. And that's wonderful to have in our district, that expertise that can help support other teachers adopt gizmos and labs and other scientific inquiries. As in last year, we're going to continue some of those in-class experiments through hydroponics and aquaponics, which will be installed in the high school soon, as well as some sustainability programs. And as we did last summer through partnership with the Meadowlands, the Mobile Food Lab, and expanding the family engagement that we have throughout the summer in the Mobile Food Labs. This, as I presented this last month too, this is a similar slide through what we're working with the Meadowlands now to create. This is actually the summer upcoming programs for June and July. Something that I'm ecstatically excited about though is in working with the Meadowlands, we're going to be looking at that area that you can see on the left, the Ridgefield Park Nature Preserve, and they will be providing our students with a walk-in overpeck to actually look at some of the nature preserves and talk again about science inquiry and what's happening through actually the pontoons and the walkways that you see now in that area. Continuing on STEM, so we purchased many of these initiatives last year, and we will continue these initiatives with coding, robotics, drones, game designs, and esports. And the curriculum, again, continuing, we're not expanding this year, but we are continuing the interior design, business, culinary arts, and aviation. 3 of those are CTE programs where students can earn college credits, as well as continuing. Our teachers still need additional physical resources to help teach geography. And actually, there's another slide coming up. So we're not expanding as much as we did that last year. We are continuing many of the existing programs and supporting our teachers in integrating these programs. Character Strong is a new initiative. As Dr. Martinez reported out, the Social and Emotional Committee looked into this and some of the things that we're doing with Character Strong. There we go. And what we do want to expand is some of the things that our schools need outside. So Grant School right now doesn't have a lot of play area. And we'd like to put out some models next year and use some of the budget for next year of actually livening up their blacktop with maps and globes and kind of other learning areas that would be nice for Grant School. We'd like to do it in all 3 schools, but Grant especially needs some areas like this. We will be purchasing a new health program for 7 through 12. That's Glencoe Health. Those are digital resources. And continuing the initiatives for media and information literacy. Moving on to personnel and staffing. The top part of the screen represents unfilled positions in our district currently that we will be interviewing for and hiring for. Many of these positions have been advertised, and we've been trying to recruit teachers into them recently. I think most people who listen to news nowadays know that teachers, especially teachers such as physics or even maintenance people, are really hard to hire in this economy. So they have been unfilled positions for months in our district. The bottom part of the screen, the wish list, is other positions. And as Mr. Goins and Ms. Grabstein reported, we need to figure out what our state funding equals before we can go ahead and actually commit to hiring other positions on our wish list. Facilities projects, Mrs. Grabstein, do you want to take it over?
First, I wanted to thank Mr. Daglitz and Mr. Strauser, our architect and our Buildings and Grounds Director, for keeping me straight on all these projects, because there have been a lot of projects going on in prior year and in the time that I've been here since July. And I just wanted to report out about some of the things that we've completed. At the grant school, we completed the soffit and lower roof replacement. We did boiler replacements there, window replacements, paving playground project, emergency exterior lighting, and we changed some classroom doors and frames. At the Lincoln School, we did some gym lighting upgrades, additional parking along the playground with the retaining wall at the sidewalk. That's the area outside the board office. Additional emergency exterior lighting there as well. Roosevelt, there was a parking lot pavement project, a building management system, which enables us to control temperature actually remotely. We don't even have to be in the building. It's a computerized system that enables us to regulate the heat. Cafeteria roof replacement. Also at the school, exterior emergency lighting and classroom doors and frames. At the high school and the junior high school, we did the gym floor replacement, some lighting and ductwork. We do need one additional coating on the gym floor, so we just have to find a time when the students won't be utilizing that. We also did a building automation controls upgrade at the high school as well. This is a floor plan, pretty much, right? Do you want to talk about the floor plan for science?
Sure. So as it was reported, there are two, I'll skip to the next slide too. There are two initiatives that we're looking at right now as far as remodeling some of the rooms in our high school. One is the high school science classroom, and that's taking two classrooms and using the middle area. And we're still exploring that for a small group instruction, which would actually give what we currently have as two classrooms and make it three. And the second project we're looking at is the culinary room upstairs and remodeling that too. As was reported earlier, those costs are coming in much higher than anticipated. And so with all of the other kinds of money that the auditor was reporting out tonight, as far as the other areas of money that we can look at, we're looking at how we can best utilize those funds and look back at these two initiatives that we have to accomplish them.
Okay, we have some initiatives that are currently in progress. We are looking into participating in the ESIP, New Jersey Clean Energy Plan. And we recently provided historical bills for PSE&G to one of these vendors who is going to look to see if we can take advantage of some supplemental funds. Because if we do some energy saving projects, these projects will pay for themselves over time, and they're also supplemented by some state money. So that's something that we just started looking at. As the slide says, one of the things that we have to do to be able to participate in this program is to finish installing LED lights, to swap out the lights that we have to make sure they're all LED. We'll be doing or we are doing fire alarm upgrades. That's district-wide. In the junior, senior high school, the biggest project right now underway is changing the curtain wall and the window replacements. That's currently in progress. The auditorium lighting upgrade is currently in design, and we hope to move forward with that soon. Home economics room renovations and science lab room renovations, those Dr. Haynes just discussed. Unfortunately, with the state of the world and the pandemic and the supply chain issues, the prices have skyrocketed and are more than what we had originally budgeted. So one of the things we'll be talking about at Buildings and Grounds is how to determine, to pick and choose what is priority. But we're exploring all of these as options that were budgeted for this year. Currently, we are working as we speak on the soffit and overhang at the Lincoln School outside the board office, because that when it rains there, it gets very slippery, and that's a health hazard. For next year, with some of the ARP grant funding, we'll be working on ventilation and air conditioning upgrades. And we will also be doing a feasibility study to see if we can institute universal pre-K. Another thing that we're looking at for next year is to upgrade the roof at 98 Central. When I first started here in July, my second day, I don't know if Mr. Cathcart, you remember, called me and said, "What happened? Did the building fall down?" And so that was my, welcome to Ridgefield Park on my second day. But so we're looking at trying to repair that. And another thing that we want to look at, if the budget permits, is to be doing a phase 3 of the window replacements at the high school in the industrial arts wing area. As you all probably know, we are very tight on space and storage. So we are doing the feasibility study, which will hopefully identify some options for increasing our storage and classroom space. And Dr. Haynes recently suggested that maybe we buy one of these storage units and use that for phys ed equipment and possibly tech equipment that we will be discarding. Okay, we are planning, we had put the high school bus loop and parking upgrade on hold for several reasons. We didn't think that it would be ready for the start of this school year. And also we were told by the architects that we have to do some soil testing to make sure that the soil is, in layman's terms, is dense enough to be able to support the busing. So that's something that we are going to be working on. It's still funded in the budget. We'll also be doing a parking lot lighting upgrade there. And we do promise you that we will be putting trees or some kind of landscaping back in there to replace the trees that we took down in preparation for this project. There'll be another phase of window replacement. As I had said, curtain wall window replacement is currently underway and will go into 22, 23. There's also an auditorium lighting upgrade for backstage lighting only that we're looking at. And the gym floor and ceiling was upgraded already, but I don't know why it's on the 22, 23. It shouldn't, yeah. The other thing we want to do is install water bottle filling stations, because with the pandemic, we really can't use the water fountains. So we'll be purchasing water bottle filling stations so that the students can refill their water bottles. And we are in dire need of another van for buildings and grounds, but unfortunately, again, with the supply chain and the chips in the vehicles, we're just having a lot of difficulty securing purchase of one of these vans, but that's something that we're in dire need of. Barry, do you want me to do technology or? Sure, okay. Yeah, we're going to, what the elementary schools have requested LED signage in front of their schools, so that will be an initiative for the 22-23 school year. We also plan as a way to strengthen our internal controls is to install additional security cameras. We've talked about a time clock system for non-affiliated, non-unionized employees. Another thing that we would like to do is purchase frontline absence management and substitute placement software, which all the districts, so many districts in the state use. And it would give employees immediate access to see their absence balances, to request days off, and it would be much easier to place substitutes. We would be able to take advantage of the substitutes that are employed in the surrounding neighborhoods. So that's something we're looking at. And then a big undertaking that I will be working on with my team is to bring payroll in-house. It's currently being processed by ADP. And I really want to take this on to integrate payroll with our personnel system and Systems 3000, because I really believe that will give us stronger internal controls. So that's something that we will be looking at, and we will have to start that in January because the payroll goes on a calendar year. We're also looking at, we haven't made any definite decisions about transportation software, but ideally we would like to get something to make the routing most efficient, and also to be able to install security cameras inside and outside of the buses, GPS systems that possibly integrate with parent applications so that parents can see how far away the buses are when the children are getting on in the morning and when they're being dropped off in the afternoon. You want to take this over? Take it away.
I like this. We get to toss it back and forth. It's fine with me. Carrie's going to jump back on in a minute and talk about cybersecurity and ransomware, which many districts in the state of New Jersey have succumbed to, unfortunately. And there are many mitigation strategies that a district can initiate to help defend themselves against that kind of cyber attack. One of the most compelling ones is two-factor authentication. And that is so rather than having a staff walk up to a device or use their phone and just log on to either your cloud services or network services, it's two-factor. Many of you have probably already implemented this in your Google, and I hope you have, or your Apple accounts or your Apple photos or whatever. So you have to type in a code on your phone as a two-factor authentication, and that prevents against a cyber hack. High school classroom audio upgrades, we always need replacements for projectors, short throw projectors, but we're upgrading many of these to HDMI runs. Updating our staff Chromebooks and laptops, implementing an annual upgrade for 5th and 9th grade Chromebooks, which allows a district to go ahead and upgrade basically 8 years of computers through a cycle, but every year there's a common amount of money, such as $100,000 to $200,000 that you pay annually, so that you're replacing students' computers every 4 years on a 4-year rotation. The deployment software, which helps our technology department deploy hardware, makes it much easier to administer over a network and deploy them. Active Directory tools, which again help our network department administer laptops and devices over the network. And Wi-Fi at the bus loop, which Ms. Grapstein just talked about. So back to ransomware and cybersecurity. Ms. Grapstein, I think you had a list that you wanted to share. Do you want to go ahead and do that?
This is, I suggested that we do a cybersecurity audit to see where our vulnerabilities are, but honestly, this is one of the things that keeps me up at night, because I'll just mention a list of schools. This isn't something that happens to people, other people in faraway lands. This actually has happened. Paramus School District was hacked, Hillsborough, Livingston, Patterson, Galloway Township, Asbury Park, Bernards Township, and Middlesex County Board of Ed. I was also reading that in Broward County, they had to pay ransomware to a tune of $4 million. So this is something that's really important to me, because the downside of not being secure is that our students' social security numbers, our confidential information, everything is at risk. If we get hacked and our system is encrypted, we're really at the mercy of these hackers, and would have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to unencrypt our data. And as you know, with only being able to keep a 1.5% surplus, we just don't have that extra money, and we really have to protect ourselves. So I would like to look into, where our vulnerabilities are with an audit, and try to tighten up some of the areas. But what I was told, that the multi-factor authentication is critical, because that's a large part of the problem with the hackers. They're able to get into the admin accounts. When you get a message to change your password, if you don't have that second authentication, that is what leaves you vulnerable. So, and additionally, we have to make our website more ADA compliant. We do not have that right now, and it's the right thing to do. It's a law, and we could face fines if we're not in compliance with that.
And before I leave this slide, one of the other ways that hackers get into your network is through phishing scams. We've all seen phishing scams. I know Ms. Kelly is rolling out some software now and some training to provide our staff with phishing professional development, so they are less likely to click on something and make our network vulnerable by clicking on something and giving others access to our network. So that comes as part of the cybersecurity audit. That would be a finding too, but I know Ms. Kelly and her department are ahead of the curve there in training and professional development. So I'll come back to questions in a minute. Proposed equipment, continuing actually. So district-wide, we started flex furniture upgrades. If you walk into some of our elementary classrooms right now, you'll see a lot of that flexible furniture being put to good use and helping students feel even more comfortable in their learning environments. You'll see some of it here at the high school library as they're trying to turn that into more of a hub for student engagement. Ms. Grabstein, if you want to talk about the junior high school and athletics.
This is just something that the principal requested, moving the batting cage. It's currently in the auxiliary gym, and she'd like to move it to the main gym.
And that concludes the budget presentation. Thank you, Mrs. Grabstein. Great question. And I'll actually answer that even though you haven't come to the podium. The question was, will that be up on the website? And I think I've presented a couple of times now. If you go to rpps.net and you click under Superintendent Communications, you will find all of the slideshows since January up on the website. Yes, including this one will be posted after the meeting tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Haynes. Thank you, Mrs. Grabstein, for excellent presentation of our preliminary budget. Moving on to the monitors report, Mr. Demikoff.
Okay, I did give my comments about the budget or the audit presentation. The only other thing I have is to give my monthly report on the legal fees related to the pending litigation with Dr. Bender. The Porzio Board attorney fees are now at $49,804.15. The state monitor's attorney fees are $1,212, which includes a recent bill of $619.50 just received. The Summit Risk Manager Company's attorney fees remain at $5,000 for a total of $56,022.15 through the January 2022 billings. As I've said previously, these numbers include the board attorney's estimate of $4,095 for the month of June and $1,971.61 billed by a third party for work done on the Bender litigation that was requested by the board attorney. And that concludes my report.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to move to open the public hearing on acting superintendent's contract. Not seeing any? Sorry. This is on.
There is somebody.
Susan DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place. I have one question. Why is in this contract 18 sick days when the normal would be 12? Why is this 18 sick days?
That's because Dr. Haynes is technically under two contracts. He's part of the RPAA, and the contract his amended contract gives him the benefits of the RPAA sick days. So that's why he's technically under two agreements right now.
Well, since Dr. Bender gets 12 sick days, wouldn't it make sense that he gets 12 sick days since he's doing her job, suppose?
That's the way the contract was written and submitted to the county executive county superintendent.
Okay, well, I don't agree with it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Seeing any else? One more? No? Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to close public hearing on the acting superintendent's contract. I'd like to, at this time, I'd like to move to open the public hearing on agenda items.
Just one person should set on.
Hi, Leslie Gottlieb, 464A Liberty Street, apartment 102, Little Ferry. Two questions. Was called in and out of the room because of personal stuff. Is the audit findings going to be on the website?
You mean the audit report, the published?
You know what?
audit?
The
Yeah.
audit report actually is posted on the DO website for every school district. So
Oh, okay.
you can find it there.
Oh, okay. And my second question was about the Rachel Ray grant that I saw on the agenda. Is that something we got? And are we going to be using that for the cooking, for the culinary room?
We're just submitting the application at this point. We need board approval to submit the application, so we don't know quite yet if we'll be awarded those funds.
But we've gotten it in the past, haven't we? Or did we submit it in the past? I think we
I think we
did.
submitted,
Oh, okay.
definitely submitted.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if we were awarded though.
Oh, okay. I just remember seeing it before. Thanks.
You are.
I
Well,
hope so.
thank
I
you.
love Rachel Ray. 30-minute meals.
So,
There's
We
one
have one?
person on.
okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay.
On agenda, correct?
On the agenda items.
John Raftery, 54 Euclid Avenue. I have a question about only one thing on agenda, and that is a donation of the Amazon gift card from the after-school program.
Yes, sir.
Along with the gift card, a week of free aftercare.
I believe it's a month.
A month, that's correct. Aftercare is a private business, correct?
Yeah, it's a private non-for-profit.
That's correct. Should we be promoting a business through the school system? Because that's exactly what this is. You're promoting your business through the school system. And I just don't think it looks very good.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rapp. I don't see much difference between that kind of donation I've gone to ShopRite for donations. I go to Home Depot for donations. You know, I'll pretty much scrounge around any business I can get to get a donation if it's something that's worthy that will promote the school district. In this case, we're promoting getting families out to register for kindergarten. So if you'd like to go out and find some other organizations that are willing to donate gift cards or food or donations, we will happily and gladly accept them.
With all respect to you, Dr. Haynes, my question was to the Board of Education. And where you are a member of it, that is not your question to answer. I asked the President of the Board of Education. That's what we have a Board of Education for. You're a paid employee. You are not an elected member of the Board of Education.
Technically,
Okay.
Dr. Haynes is a board member as well.
I am speaking to Mr. Fernandez.
Please address
Okay.
Mr. Fernandez next time then.
I am speaking to Mr. Fernandez. President, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to refer back to what Dr. Haynes said.
Huh?
I'm going to refer back to what Dr. Haynes said.
So we're going to promote private business through our school system.
Private, public, as we said, we'll take any donation for this initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Do we have anybody to promote?
One more.
Go ahead. I think we have one more to promote.
One more to promote to online. Okay.
Susan DeSantis, FP 103, this donation. First of all, I'd like to know, does he have a raffle license to do this? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Does he have a raffle license?
Is a raffle license required to make a donation?
To run a raffle, it is, yes, yes, you have to have a license by the state.
Well, we'll have our policy committee look into this.
Well, you can't look into it after you vote on it. And the other thing is, I think it's ridiculous to try to promote kindergarten registration because any parent with a child
I'll ask our board.
for kindergarten will register their child.
Hi, I'm Mrs. DeSantis. You bring up a good point. I'll refer this question to our board attorney.
So there are regulations related to raffle licenses. I don't know specifically, and I can look into it, whether those are for raffling specifically money or whether they also apply to raffling items or tangible things as opposed to cash. So I can get the board an answer.
It doesn't matter. It's a game of chance and you have to have a
Well,
raffle license.
I understand your position on that, Ms. DeSantis, but the board has asked me for my opinion and I'm going to provide my opinion. And I don't see any problem with the board accepting this donation. If he doesn't have a raffle license and it is required, you can always return it to him.
But he's just making a donation and the school would be doing the raffle.
Dave, I've been through this a million times. You have to have a raffle license to run a raffle. It's the law. Going on to extra compensation for Pressa and Esser, is there some reason why we keep giving out stipends and we aren't using this money for things like the science lab? Okay, no answer. The meeting date change for the budget, is that for the budget hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
You should advertise it as the budget hearing.
Yes, we will.
What is this computer tech overtime?
That's for the computer techs attending the board meetings.
Okay, that's it, thank you. I don't care, she's more. She's pissing me off. I don't care if I sound angry, huh? No.
Ms. DeSantis, you have another question or comment? Not seeing any? Not hearing any? I'd like to move on to close the citizens' comments on agenda items and move on to resolutions. Okay, starting off with faculty and program, trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you. I so move FP 101 through FP 106.
Second.
Are there any questions on resolutions FP 101 to FP 106?
I'm sorry, did we say that we don't need to have a raffle license just to accept the donation? Was that the outcome of that? We're just accepting the donation.
Yeah.
We'll look into whether they have to get a raffle license. Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I'm seeing no questions. I'm going to take the roll call. Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros has to abstain on FP 102 and FP 103, but the other resolutions, Mr. Phytros?
I'm sorry, yes to all the others except for 102 and 103. Hello?
Yep, we heard you.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
and President Fernandez.
Yes. Not seeing anything for buildings and grounds, we'll move on to finance and insurance. Would trustee Gomes please pass on?
I so move FI 196 to FI 216.
A second.
Are there any questions on resolutions FI 196 to FI 216?
I just have a comment to make.
Yes.
I'd like to acknowledge, Carrie, all of the concern that you have for the district for cybersecurity, that it's a very real threat. Appreciate the mitigation that you're looking at, but as you cited, it does happen. And, you know, the fact that you uncovered that $500,000 risk since March of last year, tried to pursue it with the existing broker with not a satisfactory response. I appreciate your initiative to pursue it with other brokers and actually get us some quotes to be insured against that. And FI 213 and 214, to put that in front of the board, I certainly appreciate that. I know it was with the support of Dr. Haynes, Mr. Demikoff, and the Finance Committee when we spoke. And as President Fernandez has reminded the board on many occasions, we don't run the district. We ensure that it is well-run. And I think that FI 213 and 214 will actually help our business administrator be more effective because you won't spend as much time on it. So I just would like to urge all of the trustees to vote yes on those two resolutions.
Okay, thank you. Again, for these resolutions, Mr. Phytros will need to abstain for FI 215 and FI 216. But Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes, but I'll abstain on FI 199.
I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry.
199.
abstaining on 199. Mr. Phytros,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes, I'm going to be an abstention on 213 and 214.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes and all but FI 199.
and President Fernandez.
Yes.
Okay, resolutions passed.
I'd like to move consent agenda CR 32.
Second.
Are there any questions on CR 32? Seeing none, President Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros, you're abstaining. Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
I'll abstain on this.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez, Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Moving on to personnel with trustee Gibbons, please.
Yes, I'd like to move P 182 to P 191. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Are there any questions on P 182 to P 191?
I have a question on P 190. Are we raising this total from a max of 20,000 to a max of 52,000?
We are.
Is there a reason for that?
Sure. As the superintendent, I will take ownership of this one. Because last year, when we asked for curriculum writing, it came in around 20 to 30,000. And I assumed that it would be an equal amount this year. I assumed incorrectly. There were many more curriculum that needed to come into CUSAC compliance. And it's in the best interest of the district, as I presented earlier in the budget presentation, to pay teachers to write the curriculum for CUSAC compliance so that we could receive an outstanding mark on that. As I said, I will take ownership of this. I budgeted too low for that, and the budget needed to be increased to meet the CUSAC compliance.
Dr. Haynes, is this an ongoing?
No. As Mr. Demikoff can say, because I've had many conversations with Mr. Demikoff and Mrs. Grabstein, there will be no more curriculum writing because CUSAC came in and made their initial visit. And our professionals know that all of the curriculum needed to be turned in by the time CUSAC came for the visitation a week ago. So there will be no more curriculum writing between now and the end of the year. There will be a little bit of curriculum writing not CUSAC compliant as we bring on some of those resources that I announced earlier in the budget presentation, such as the new science curriculum and other things that our teachers will then delve into and rewrite a small amount of curriculum, but it will not be the big expense that you see on the agenda tonight.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros with an abstention on 182, 187, and 188.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Orth,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
and President Fernandez.
Yes. That concludes our resolutions. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for citizens' comments off agenda items. Good evening, Mrs. Gottlieb.
Yes, while you guys, okay, all right, Leslie Gottlieb, 464A Liberty Street, apartment 102, Little Ferry, New Jersey. While I was waiting for the executive session to end, I was walking around and looking at the high school and the various plaques and things. And I discovered that the beautiful alumni display that used to be in the glass case is gone, is missing. So there's only like one plaque for one alumnus, Matthew Fenton. And I noticed we've had 2 Athlete of the Week winners in the past 4 or 5 years, including one this year, and their pictures are not on display in the athletic trophy case. So I'm just wondering, do we really need to start updating some of our plaques and signs, like to show more recent winners of things? Like one of the other scholarship awards stopped at 2019. Be nice to see some of the more recent accomplishments recognized and updated. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Gottlieb. Please proceed.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Bob Kilmurray. Actually, I'm going to use the address 160 Christie Street, Ridgefield Park. I'm here representing the All School Special Needs Board. On behalf of the All School Special Needs Board, Bobby Lee, Teresa Coles, Mary Kane, Tommy Carlock, Chrissy Bush, and myself, I'd like to thank the Board of Education, the administration, staff, alumni, friends, and the Ridgefield Park community for your support for our casino night the past Friday night and making it our most successful casino night in our history. So thank you guys. It is because of the generosity of this community and everybody else, our friends and alumni, that we're able to support our special needs students throughout the year. Again, I'm sitting up here in tears. The support, seeing everybody's faces there, everybody smiling, having a good time was wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you for your continued support. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Kilmurray, why don't you explain what happens to those funds?
So we do 3 fundraisers: casino night, we do a golf outing, and we do a 5K, which will be in December. And rumor is Santa may or not make an appearance on December 11th, but that's to be, hopefully he's free. But every single dollar that is donated goes back to the children, the special needs children, whether it's into the classroom, whether we buy smart boards, help with playgrounds, whatever project. We also give money to every single teacher to help them or aid them in buying supplies. So remember, every single dollar goes back to the students. And thank you very much, everybody. The board really thanks you.
Great time.
Nancy, seeing any? Let's promote them, please.
Susan DeSantis. I'd like to say a big shout out to Dr. Bender, Dr. Bender, Mr. Demikoff, and Mr. Tevis for coming in at one thing with the audit. I think that the administration and the rest of them, I think that they did a wonderful job, and I congratulate them. I also think that it's a shame that everything that Dr. Bender put in place last year is not being extended in the 22-23 budget. I think that's a shame. I'd like to know how long the teachers have been working without a contract.
The contract expired in 2021, I believe. So it was it's the 21-22, right? Is it 2021?
I can answer that. Yeah, the contract expired on June 30th of 2021, but the teachers are not working without a contract. They do have a contract. They're covered under the specific terms of the old contract. All the terms and conditions of that contract continue.
Right, correct. Thank you. Dr. Martinez, you said something about exit interviews with personnel. It's my understanding that that's not permitted, because I remember the board wanted to do that previously and they were told that they couldn't. You might want to, unless something's changed, I don't think that that's allowed. And when Ann DeLuca, she was the Little Ferry rep, and she got a job in Ridgefield Park, and she not only stepped down as the Little Ferry rep, but she also stepped off the Little Ferry Board of Education. And I think what Mr. Gibbons is doing, being hired by Little Ferry, he really has a huge conflict of interest. And I think that it's time for him to step down. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Well, I got one. I'd like to also add Mrs. Grabstein's name to that hard working on the budget.
Thank you.
And the Mrs. Grabstein and the entire business office.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Seeing any more hands? Okay. Okay. No, nothing. Okay, I'd like to, conclude our citizens' comments off agenda items and moving on to unfinished business. No unfinished business. Any new business? Okay, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Seconded, Mrs. McNeil. Wow.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.